Alright guys, welcome back to this channel. So in today's video, as the title suggests, we're gonna look at how to transmit MIDI wirelessly over your Mac computers as well as iPhones. So before we start, you might be asking why? Why you want to transmit MIDI over your Mac computers? Actually, by connecting your Mac, you are not only linking the two computers, but you're also connecting all the gears that are attached to these two computers. Does that make more sense to you? Okay, let's get started. First, I want to apologize that I will be shooting the screen with my camera instead of screen recording. Well, I could do that, alright? I could enable screen recording on both computers as well as my iPhone, and also sync my voice recording with the screen recordings, alright? But that's not an easy task, so forgive me, I'm too lazy to do that. So, anyway, let's get started. So the first thing you want to do is to hook up the audio MIDI setup on one of your Mac computer, actually the master computer. And over here, over the top, you go to Window, Show MIDI Studio to open up your MIDI Studio. I believe this is a separate application in previous versions of Mac OS, but now Apple has integrated this thing into the audio MIDI setup. So anyway, over the top, you can see this little icon over here with an earth on it. Actually, you can also use Bluetooth here, but for connecting to Mac computers, I suggest that you use this one, not the network driver, because there are some obvious advantages over Bluetooth, which I will talk about very soon. So please be patient. So over here to the left of the screen, you can see there's something called a session 1, which is the default name. And that means the network session that you're going to share MIDI with other computers. So to the right, this thing is by default unchecked. So what you're going to do is you check this one. And what happened is that your computer is now added a new MIDI device called session 1. And you can see over the top that Logic Pro has already detected the MIDI device over here. Let's get rid of it. And to the right, you can also name the session as how it appears on your computer, and this will be the name of your MIDI device, and this will be the name of this computer, which could be seen by anyone else on the same network. So right now you can see that there's no participants over here. So the next thing is to go to the other computer that you want to join the same session and repeat the same thing. So we go to Audio MIDI Setup, Window, Show MIDI Studio, and this icon. And also by default, this is not enabled. And if you check this box, and instantly you will see the other computer appears here. So theoretically, there's no limit on how these two computers are connected with each other, whether they are connected via Wi-Fi or via cable network, or even point-to-point connection. As long as they can reach each other via this port, then you will be able to see the other computer. And the next thing you're going to do is to obviously connect the other computer over here. There you go. You can see that under participants, the other computer appears here. And on the other Mac, obviously you don't have to connect it. So by now you have finished the setup. Quite easy, isn't it? Let me mention a little more about this network MIDI device, because as you can see that we can connect more than one computer in a single session. And remember that you have a 16 MIDI channel in a single MIDI port, and the network session behaves pretty much the same way as a MIDI port. So you have 16 channels in a single network session. And as to how the device functions, well, it functions quite the same way like you are talking on the radio, right? You push a button on your talkie-walkie and speak to the radio, and everyone else on the same radio frequency can hear you, right? And you can also hear anyone else on the same radio frequency. So the same rule applies here. When you transmit MIDI to this network session, any computer on the same network session can receive the MIDI message. And you can also receive MIDI message from anyone else on the same network, the other way around, okay? But Bluetooth, on the other hand, only allow connection between two devices, all right? So now that we have finished the setup, let's see how we can use this network device. So let me hook up my Logic Pro and add a new track, a new external MIDI track. And here over the MIDI destination, you can see that our network device is already here. All right. So let's go ahead and create this track. And let's turn to the other computer over here. And let me open up my Ableton Live and also create a new track. And over here in the MIDI from, you can see our network session here. All right. And you can see that the device is called a network. And if you know how Ableton Live name MIDI devices, you know that the network is the device name and the session one is one of the ports. So if the network device doesn't appear here, you want to go to Configure and make sure to check the network device over here. And you can also enable the output. So for this MIDI channel, I'm gonna receive MIDI from the network session, and I'm gonna further route the MIDI signal to this thing, to my Yamaha synthesizer. So let's see how we can do that. You go to Configure and enable the MIDI output of the Yamaha synthesizer. And there you go. So let's play around with this. You can see that this MIDI keyboard over here is connected to this computer, which is the iMac, and the Yamaha synthesizer is connected to this 12-inch MacBook. And what I can do is that I can play around this MIDI keyboard, and the sound will be coming out from this thing. All right. Oops, I forgot to enable the recorder button. Make sure you have enabled the track record button on both of the computers, right? And over here, so you can see that I'm playing this MIDI keyboard and the sound is coming out from this thing. And besides MIDI notes, you can also transfer like control informations, including control change, program change for changing patches, and also MIDI clock. So that could be helpful if you are syncing two devices that are located quite far away that no MIDI cables can reach. And this thing also works for iPhone as well as iPad. If I open up my GarageBand on my iPhone, and instantly over here under directory, you can see my iPhone appears here. And if you hit connect on your iPhone, GarageBand automatically does the setup and you don't have to do anything else. Just play around with it. Alright? Pretty cool. But your iPhone is not capable to host a network session. It can only join a network session hosted by a Mac computer. Alright? If you only want to connect two devices, then you can also use Bluetooth, which is a more simple option. Just over here, click on the Bluetooth icon, and it will automatically start searching for other devices that have also enabled Bluetooth MIDI. So on your iPhone in GarageBand, let's go to Advanced Bluetooth MIDI devices, and you can see that it has discovered my iMac. And if you hit connect, okay, there you go. And on my iMac, you can see that this iPhone appears as an external MIDI device over here. And you can repeat the same thing in Logic to send your MIDI data to the iPhone over Bluetooth by selecting this one. All right, it's called your iPhone's name Bluetooth. All right, still works, very simple. Okay, last thing. If you ask me whether there are any drawbacks of using network MIDI this way, well, I hate to say, but yes, the most annoying part is latency. There is latency. Well, it's not too bad, but there is. And what's more annoying is that the latency is not fixed. It's sometimes big, it's sometimes small. I guess it might be related to network I/O issue because I am connecting the two computers via a Wi-Fi router, and I guess it will be better if you connect via Ethernet cable or point-to-point connection. I don't know, but latency is there, so it might not be very usable if you wanna play live. but it's still a quite good way to share some like control message information between computers and gears. For instance, sending program change and bank select to change patch. The patch change is initiated on one device and synced across all other devices. So that concludes today's video. I hope you find this video helpful. If you do, please like and subscribe to my channel. So until next time, see ya.